Disruptors, welcome to the Close the Deal podcast, our franchise profits edition. Now, we're doing something completely different today. This is a Painter1 podcast, a special one-off show, and I've got three guests. Two are mentees. One is a mentor. I'll drill down on that more, why that matters so much with this brand, because it separates us from the sameness of everybody else. Keith, I want to welcome you to the Close the Deal podcast, and I want to welcome you to Painter1 podcast.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
So you're based in Knoxville, and so you and I got to experience something that was pretty cool. You're the mentor for Painter1.
Right.
And you were the mentor to two mentees, Dallas and his wife, Andrea, and then Mike. But before you became a mentor, you had to get some chops, some skills, and you've been in business for 4 years with Painter1. What were you doing prior to Painter1?
Sure. I think the best way to describe my background is a jack of all trades. I've done everything from athletic field maintenance to mortgage collections to building boats, fire and water restoration. So before Painter1, I actually was in the painting business with another company. Running that, we were doing about $13 million a year in revenue. I was responsible for the commercial side of the business. How I happened to fall into the painting business was I was working in ServPro with fire and water restoration. And there's just so much on call and after hours and holidays that I was like, I've got to find something better. And so I happened to find an ad for a commercial estimator for a painting company and kind of fell into it about 2015. And this is the business that I want to do. So got experience, then decided I'm going to open Painter1 at this point.
Now, why Painter1?
So the biggest things that stood out, of course, I was kind of deciding if I wanted to be an independent contractor or go with a franchise. And the big thing for me was I wanted to get the business up and going quick. So as I was looking at different franchises and stuff, the thing that stood out about Painter1, the empower the owner, was the big thing, that they don't really tell you what you're going to do or how much you've got to do or all this stuff. So I could actually feel like I'm running my business instead of someone else telling me how. The mentor program that they have was just fantastic. Just so many people willing to help. So I had all these resources too. If I got in a jam with the business side or anything like that, they don't make you feel like they're telling you how to run your business. You can run your business within the parameters of the disclosure document. And then also I wanted to have a system that had not too many in it. I didn't want 400 or 500 people that I'm going to be tripping over in the territories, things like that. So the number that they had and that I could come in, help kind of form the franchise system as well from my experience and everything.
That's pretty cool. And you know, when you think about the empower the owner thing, that's huge. And it all starts with mindset. And that's where that's where the mentorship program comes in. And there's an expression I heard years ago, and I always use it. With mentorship, you're pulling time forward. You're learning from the mistakes others have made and the successes they've had. You're standing on their shoulders, so you're able to accelerate the start of the business real quickly. Doing that. You became a mentor. What was the first thing that when doing this, you said, okay, what's the one thing, most important thing, or the first thing I want to instill on somebody who's coming into this program?
I think the biggest thing is for them to understand that it's a little more complex doing this business than paint. It's not just going in, showing up with some guys and putting some paint on the walls. There's things to this, and there's certain key performance indicators and things like that that you're watching for to see the health of your business. So really it's instilling, hey, you got to look for these certain things to be able to know the health of your business and if you're being successful, not successful, and what could be adjusted should you need to adjust. So it's really all those checkpoints and things to watch for that we're really trying to instill.
Yeah, and if I had to watch it, it was just so neat for me to sit, because I sat in the middle of the two mentees, right? And then there you were across the table coaching all of us. What was so neat, I could see where the two areas that you really kind of zeroed in, and tell me if I'm wrong, but the marketing, you've got it dialed in so tight. You can turn up your marketing when the weather's getting warmer and you can get off, but you know your numbers so well on the speed to conversion, speed to estimate, in the
Mhm.
conversion to estimate, and then from estimate to close conversion. You know all those numbers, but it all goes back to your marketing, which obviously they're coached on great depth as well during this training. That's one area. The other area is your cost of goods, your paint, the people you bring on, the subs you bring into it.
That's exactly right. That's the two biggest things, but I think some of the things that's happened that I've seen over the years is owners tend to shy away from marketing instead of charging into it and trying new things. I see so many owners fail by not having enough marketing. You've got to feed your business. And then with the COGS, that's probably the biggest indicator that I could look at and say, hey, looks like your business is not doing too well. So we have them understand that that's the big checkpoint. It's look how much you're spending out versus what you have left over for you.
Mhm.
And that's the best way to see the health of your business.
And, they got the in-house software that's built specifically to Painter1, which helps them track their numbers, helps them track their cost of goods sales, and also has a drip system for nurturing the leads that come in. And the CRMs, all that's built in. So you're giving them the tools, but you kind of showed them the big picture of why it's so important to use these tools for their success. What made you think these guys might do well? What attributes did they have that you think would?
So I could definitely tell that they were both very detailed. They have different backgrounds, of course, but the detail is the big thing. So they've run businesses like Micah, for example. He was a former middle school principal. So he understands all that. Plus, he has construction background. So when I hear things like that, that's a very good indicator. And then when they're asking me a ton of questions, they want more explanation on certain things and all
Mhm.
that. That's the things I look for because when you go into this business, it does seem simple, but then when you start opening the eyes, it's like, oh, there's a lot more to this. And when people are asking me questions, engaging, I know they're getting it. That's a great feeling. And I feel like both of those guys are just going to be amazing in this business for
Yeah,
sure.
and they're gonna meet both of them after this interview. Mike, the principal, and he had 800 students out there, like
Wow.
a big system. And then Dallas has a financial background, and he'll unpack that when we talk to him.
I mean, the big thing is they think, like we talked about before, it was you're going to show up, you're going to get some painters, you're going to go and just paint walls. And it's a lot more complex. You have to get a product knowledge because the biggest thing that I get sales with is the fact that I know so much about paint and that certain paints are used certain
Mhm,
places and how you apply them, the conditions, atmospheric conditions, and
mhm.
everything like that, moisture conditions. So, it's a little more of a science to do this than it is to show up with some painters and do it. So
Yeah.
I think that really surprises them and this understanding, what all goes into with the marketing and the customer service part of it and selling. There's a lot to this business. If you want to be a business that continues to grow, become more successful, all things like that.
They're not picking up a paintbrush. They're operating the business at a very high level so that they can scale the business. And that's a mindset shift because a lot of times I think people come in and think they got to do everything, and that is not the case. That's where the mentorship program really
That's
comes.
right. So really what it's all about is building if you build a big network of repeat customers, I think that is the big thing is understanding the network and continue and it goes along. I mean, networking is marketing. So it's putting more into your marketing. And I think that understanding that and understand what the trends are because the same marketing that we did a few years ago is not what we're doing right now. We have to adjust and move with what the trends are and things like that, what people are doing. Yep.
And the blue is the leads from Angie's List. The big red spot was from Google. But tell the people what the green spot is. The big green area.
So the green area is our repeat customer base. And I think
Yeah.
actually the bigger red spot is
Yeah.
our referral. So I've
Oh
grouped
wow.
those together as repeat referral, that word of mouth that we're getting out there, building those customers and they come back every year for more work. That's the key to this business is a big repeat customer base.
So in 4 years' time, your referral and your repeat is almost about a third of
Even as much as half, sometimes it's
really.
half business.
All right. Let's shift gears a little bit here. How has being a mentor helped you with your own business?
So, it's good to go back and refresh yourself as you're teaching this content and
Mhm.
everything, seeing that, but you also start seeing some comparisons of lead sources use now that maybe they're not starting out with that maybe they can use, but it gives me good feedback throughout the country as I'm mentoring, not just in Tennessee, but different markets with marketing. So I think that really gives me a better pulse on the painting business as a whole.
Yeah, 100%. Someone considering Painter1, what would be the one thing you would want them to know?
That their resources are not like standard franchise systems where you have just like a regional manager or someone that may or may not have been in the business. They may just be a degreed person that got a business administration degree or something like that. And they're trying to teach you. With Painter1, you're being taught by someone that is actually in the business, understands the business, has a business of their own that they're running. So they can kind of see from your perspective as you're coming in as a new owner versus someone that has not ever run a business, or they're just spouting numbers and said you should be at these numbers, but they may not have the how do you get there information.
It's the mentorship piece.
That's
It's
right. It's 100% the mentor piece, and that your resources are people that are living it every day.
I watched you all set up the weekly phone calls. Mike did it, Dallas did it with you. We all looked
Mhm.
at your calendars and said, okay, we'll meet Thursday, we'll meet Friday, whatever it is. And you all have weekly calls. And then, of course, you're there to help them through the week as things
Yeah.
pop up. I
And
love
even
that.
so, it's not even just a year. I've got mentees that I had way back in my first year,
Wow.
and they still call me for help and stuff. If anybody wants help with commercial or anything with business, they can call me anytime for help.
That's called a relationship.
Absolutely.
And
That's building
community.
relationships.
And community. And that's why you have the success you have. Keith, I want to thank you for being part of this. And I'll be talking to Dallas and Mike next. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Dallas, I want to welcome you to the podcast. I just finished speaking with Keith, your mentor. You're the mentee of as a Painter1 franchisee. Let me ask you real quick, and we'll talk about your experience going through the mentorship program, to the initial mentor training. But what was your last role or two before jumping into the franchise world?
Yeah. So I had a career in corporate finance and largely FP&A. I worked at General Motors
Mm.
for a time, manufacturing finance and just a lot of different corporate finance roles for General Motors. And then I moved to the Denver area and switched to working for a family office, just a wealthy family doing portfolio management, investment management, due diligence, M&A type of work. A lot of finance heavy, forecasting and budgeting.
Gotcha. So, and you were you at GM in Detroit, the corporate?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Okay. S- What prompted you to say, "Hey, I'm gonna go look at franchises"? Start that.
Yeah. So I've always wanted to own my own business, and I've
Mhm.
been looking for a few years. Got close to acquiring, and I wanted to acquire a business.
Mhm.
I wanted something that would be cash flowing day one and replace my income. And I'd gotten close to acquiring a few businesses over the years. Things didn't work out. And when I got laid off, I said, okay, I need to speed up my search process. And around that same time, I'm looking for businesses to acquire that would check all my boxes. A franchise consultant reached out and said, are you interested or have you considered a franchise?
Mm.
And I, studied franchises in school and I looked at them and recently I hadn't really looked into any franchise. You know what? I need to expand my criteria
Mhm.
to look at different things. Yeah, let's talk. So I ended up engaging with this franchise consultant who, they have a process and that's the rest is history.
Yeah, so why home service? I'm sure you looked at probably different categories as a potential candidate for, someone considering a franchise. Why home services, and then why Painter1?
Yeah. I did look at different things. I looked obviously at other financial
Mhm.
type things, tax advising, planning, small business consulting, different types of franchises, daycares, and other home services. What drew me to Painter1 was a few things. I really liked the team at Painter1. They were responsive. They answered all my questions honestly and quickly. It was important to me. And they were an open book as far as talk to all our owners. Do you want to talk to this owner? Here you go. We'll put you in touch with them. And so I was able to talk to a lot of other franchisees some who'd been there for years, some who were brand new, some in the middle of all different stages in their ownership. And ultimately it checked the boxes that I had, which were, you know, how fast can it replace my income? What's the startup cost? It was a lower startup cost. What kind of support do I have? And what am I getting out of the franchise? In other words, why franchise instead of just start my own or buy another existing one? It is something that I can do with my skill set. And I had some background in construction and other things as well, but not really a painting expert.
Mhm.
Something that I can do and be successful in. I was very comfortable after my due diligence that I could check all those boxes.
So what was the thing that tipped you? Because there's always a tipping point. Was there one specific thing that, okay, I feel good about this?
So there were two. I started my search and I looked at like 20 different franchises,
Mm-hmm.
and I narrowed that down to like 3 or 4 finalists.
Mm-hmm.
And then that became 2. And the other one was also in the home services. What made me lean to Painter1 was the lower startup cost and the quickness that I could launch and be profitable, have revenue and have profit so much faster than the other model, than the other franchise. The other franchise, it would have probably been 2 to 3 times as much to start up, and it would have been probably at least a year before I saw any kind of profitability. It could be at least a year. Where Painter1, I feel like, and I think it's still true, I'd still say it's true to anybody else, you can be profitable right away.
And yes, the model works. Part of the reason why I like to say we pull time forward when you have a mentorship, no matter what business you're in, everybody should have a mentor. And we formalized that process with a mentorship program for Painter1. And you were able to meet Keith, you were able to go to his place in Knoxville to learn from him, you and another gentleman by the name of Mike. The franchisees became mentees, and one of our franchisees became a mentor. I want to ask you, what was that experience, like your top level experience with that? What do you think of that? How important was that as you went through it? And what surprised you? Is there anything that surprised you as you were coming?
I think I probably should have been surprised, but I was surprised at the number of partnerships and systems in place. So day one, I could have all of these services provided to me that integrated with the CRM, with the software at a pretty reasonable, like negotiated price. So for example, you can have software to manage your pictures to go to a project. You can have your different paid lead sources integrate right into your software. You have your credit card processing that integrates everything that's like, they set that all up for you so nice and easy. It really takes, don't get me wrong, your digital marketing, like with their partner Digital right now, they do a great job. All those guys make it super easy. Still takes some work. It still took me a couple weeks to get everything going, but much easier than starting up by myself. So that was great. The training and the mentorship program so far, and I'm into it like a month and a half, maybe something like that.
6
Keith has been, we do weekly check-in. We have a checklist of things that I feel like I need to cover that he says, I think we need to cover. And at any given time, I'm out, I have a question, I'm on a job, I'm doing an estimate, whatever. I text him and he responds right back. I send him some pictures and he says, oh, here's what I would do. So he's been fantastic. Aside from Keith, the mentor, there's other people who are also always available and are willing to help. It's been a great community where, there is some loneliness in entrepreneurship. And I think this helps take some of that away.
Yeah.
I feel supported, right?
You have a community wrapped around you. What would you say the most valuable coming out of that week in Knoxville with everybody there? What was the most valuable takeaway that the real world takeaway? Say, okay, I know, I see it now, I get it. I'm taking it with me to use.
Here's what the software is doing. Here's how you do an estimate. But then to go out somebody on a real world estimate and to go walk into a customer's home and see, just kind of tag along,
Mhm.
be a fly on the wall and to see how that happens. You're like, okay, that's easy. I can do this. Do I know everything yet? No, I don't. But I can learn this. I can do this.
100%.
I think that was big because I didn't come from a painting background. I wasn't an experienced painter. I've done some painting, but I wasn't a pro. But to walk away from training going, okay, I can do this was huge because there was a lot of nervousness there and a lot of anxiety that how do I compete with guys who have been doing this for 20 years?
Yeah. And you've got the tools now because you got a team
Yeah.
with your digital, your mentorship, the software guiding you every
Yeah.
step of the way.
Yeah.
Anything you didn't expect, does that maybe that's it? I don't know.
Anything that I didn't expect, you have to just go through and experience it because none of it really made a lot of sense to me. Like, why, as a brand new business, how am I going to compete in a market and it's here in Denver, it's the same everywhere, very fragmented, lots of small competitors, some who do a really good job with their advertising and marketing, some who don't. How am I going to compete with everybody as a brand new guy with no history? And they'd say, trust me, we have a system, it'll work. And I was like, I don't like that answer. I don't like to just trust in things. I want data. I'm a data guy, but it worked. I'm brand new. I have no history, but I'm getting leads and I'm getting estimates and I'm got there. So it worked.
That makes sense. This is a good place for us to button up because I think what I saw, an experience for me to go through it with you all, was to watch you all in real time. At one moment, all of us, because I was going through the training just like you guys, it felt like a fire hose. A lot of information and overwhelmed. Then the next day, it's like, oh, I watched y'all. It's like y'all felt refreshed. You learned something. Now you're ready to take on the next piece. It became possible. The things that you thought might be a challenge, maybe not because you had a mentor coaching you through the process. And then as you all were wrapping up, it became possible because you're being coached by somebody who's very successful and he followed a playbook, the same playbook that you're following now. It worked for him because he's followed it. And that instills a mindset into you all that makes it possible and real.
Seen other franchisees out there, and there are a handful who had similar backgrounds to mine. They're being successful and they don't have the background in painting. And I go, okay, this can be done. I'm going to trust the system. I'm going to do what they say because it does work. And the training is a fire hose. You get bombarded with information. And afterwards, I've asked Pete lots of questions that I know he covered in training, that I know he's covered with me probably several times. And I'm still asking him the question and he's answering the question. And I go, oh, yeah, that's right. We covered that. But it's so helpful to have that. So I'm not guessing and making those mistakes. I can start off with some best practices instead of figuring those out along the way.
And one more thing is you had your wife there, Andrea.
Yeah.
So she going to be part of the business? She's there. She's going through training, asking a lot of good questions and hard questions too.
Yeah, so she does that and keeps me on my toes and she is involved. She's going to go back to being a teacher, but she's also helping a lot with our social media and our advertising. And she's been a huge help for me in getting all of my materials ready. So it's a lot of, when you start out, it's a lot of time get your brochures ready, your bio, all your print materials, and everything, you know, business card, all the social media flyers and all the different things. And she's been awesome and been handling that for me. And it's a huge help. That way I can go out and do estimates and I don't have to like stay up all night doing.
Y'all make a great team. Well, I appreciate meeting you and Mike, and I think you guys are off to a great start. And your mentorship will continue. I know you all had spoken to Keith at one point, perhaps coming to visit you all in each of y'all's respective markets. So I wish you continued success, and we'll check in with you later on. All right, Dallas. I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you. Take care. Mike, I want to welcome you to the podcast for Painter1. You, myself, and Dallas, we were all together for the Painter1 mentorship training for you guys to get up and running quickly and get results quickly. We had to unpack what's already happened with you here in a second. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ewell. I'm excited to be here. It's been 3 or 4 weeks since we did get together in Knoxville, and we've been dancing as fast as we can.
Things are moving fast. I'll tell you what, watching you guys go through the training, and Keith, and of course, Jason, co-founder, was there as well. You all were drinking from a fire hose. And there were moments where I could tell all of us were drinking from a fire hose. So now you're drinking from a second fire hose out in the field. But before we go into all that, what were you doing prior to the life of a franchise owner?
Yeah, great question. This is actually my encore career, as we've come to call it. I spent 30 years in public education. I was a middle school principal, so I like to tell the story that I'm a recovering middle school principal. I enjoyed 30 years here in the state of Colorado, working with kids and families and communities. Once we were able to pull that to a conclusion, as I was working with some community members and we were trying to figure out what the next steps would be. We had worked at one of our community centers, which was a liaison between school district and the community.
Mm-hmm.
Was talking to some other guys about different opportunities, and the opportunity appeared where I could take my retirement from the public education system. So we decided to do that, decided to jump on a new ship and start a new journey.
So why franchising? Why did you gravitate to home services, or were you looking at other things?
Yeah, we were looking at other things. Yes, it's kind of always in the home service industry or all the things that we've looked at. My wife is an administrator in a local high school here. And so our family is kind of bred into that. Both of our sets of parents and siblings are kind of in that world. We grew up in the service industry, former Army National Guards back 25 years ago. So we knew we wanted to be in the service industry. We didn't know exactly which industry it might be.
Okay.
We had lots of selections and lots of choices and conversations about trying to figure out what was right for us.
What drew you to Painter?
We worked with a broker. Started in January of this year, 5, 6, 7 months ago, it looks like now. I was messing around on the laptop, trying to figure it out from my own lens and figure out what was going on. And I must have pushed the right button at some point in time because I got an email a day or two later from a broker, and he said, "Mike, it looks like you need some help." And I said, "I sure do. I'm glad you called." So I started working with the broker. The first thing we did was kind of a personality test. What are a skills test? What are the things that I like doing? What are the things I'm comfortable with doing? What are the things that I'm willing to do, but might be a little out of my comfort zone? Those types of things. So that was about an hour long kind of conversation that we had. And he decided to come back in a week later, and he brought me 6 different franchises. And before I kind of get into the franchises, you asked me a question a little bit ago, why franchising versus, something else? When I'm starting my encore career and I've got a family and lots of responsibility here, I don't have time to kind of get into a startup, make a mistake on my own, fail, figure it out, take a different direction, do something different, fail, get up, do it again. And I don't feel like I have that kind of time to be able to build something like that on my own. When I was in education, we stand on the shoulders of others. And when the Painter1 conversation came along, I knew that the shoulders that we would be standing on had a really great foundation, knew what they were doing. And for me, kind of having a gut feeling and a trust around someone and who they are makes a big difference. Painter1 crew, after talking with everyone, I'm looking for red flags everywhere, honestly. And I just couldn't find any. And Painter1 continued to make the cut, right? After the first 6, and then they made the cut after the first 3, and then it came down to the last 2, and
here you go.
Last man standing.
And here we are. All right. So what do you think of the mentorship experience? Because I place so much value on that, because everything's about mindset, and that was fun to watch you guys transform it before my eyes. What was your thoughts on that, and what was your takeaway? What was the biggest thing that you learned that you took from it that's practical, put into action right away?
The mentorship program, first of all, it's one of the reasons that Painter1 continued to rise. Talked about what that training would be. We talked about the support that you would have, new owners would have from the community, from the other owners, ways to access information and marketing and leads and systems that are proven. So being trained on those proven systems is something that I'm looking forward to. As a former educator, it's all about systems. If you can put in place systems from the very beginning, bulletproof systems where you don't miss a lead or you get it back right away. And what are the things that are happening that make it so that it's bulletproof, that we can actually get off to a really, really good start? And I think I have gotten off to a pretty good start. We're a month in and we're working hard, and Keith and Kelly in Knoxville, they were just so helpful. They shared all their materials. They shared all their marketing. Can't see it here, but it's behind me. It's on the racks here. I went away from the traditional kind of white and blue and orange marketing that kind of everybody has. And Keith had that piece of flash with the black in there. He gave me all the templates. Kelly gave me all the templates. And
there you go.
We went into Canva, made it all our own. Keith is a high performer, and I recognize that. I want to learn from a high performer. We got a motto that what one man can do, another can do. With the right training, with the right systems, with the right support, when all those things line up, even a guy like me can jump into this thing and be successful really like within 3 weeks. It's pretty awesome.
And you're back in your mark in Denver. And 3-4 weeks later, you've already completed your first job.
Yeah.
That's quick. For starting a business, that's pretty quick.
Right? No, it's amazing. And let's be real, after that, things have dried up. And I'm like, oh, shoot, what are we doing now, right? Let's go. Ready.
And that's the journey. It's not easy, but with Keith, it's possible because he went through the same thing. What was the number one thing that he said that you've taken away?
I think it isn't really like one little thing. I try to collect knowledge from lots of different places.
Okay.
Puzzle pieces together, right? What I notice about Keith, the things that I want to do to get a business going like Keith and Kelly have, they're relentless is the word that comes to mind when you walk into their shop. They're doing all the things. There's a manual here that we're trying to get through, and this is the blueprint, and this is the outline, and we're doing it. To see these guys doing it in action validates, like I said earlier, what one man can do, another can do. Because Keith wasn't always a painter. Right? They weren't always doing this kind of thing. And they've learned, they made mistakes. They're willing to talk about their mistakes, which I appreciate. Something that I don't have to mess up because I've been told by someone who's been there, done that. So their support, their mentorship have been fantastic. I wouldn't have landed a job without it. I'm calling him. I got an estimate. I'm like, Keith, what's going on with the trip? It's this. It doesn't fit the mold of what we kind of talked about in training. He's always there answering the phone. And so the mentorship program is invaluable, honestly. It's bigger than I even thought it would be. And I thought I was looking forward to that week of training. Like, I really got to get going and get my head around what's happening. It's bigger than that week. It's a lot bigger.
What surprised you? Was that the takeaway?
No. What surprises me? Let's see. I'm a pretty realistic person. I've seen a lot of surprises, right? Here and there. And I think the one thing that I appreciate, and it's a little bit of a surprise, maybe not so much, but how collaborative the rest of the owners group are.
Gotcha.
Like sometimes you pit systems against each other, right? And there's competition rather than collaboration. And I think we're doing a really good job being collaborative, not so competitive. And that helps. It allows other people to share, allows other people like me to learn. So That's one of the nice surprises.
It breeds that. They also have the equity program, which also kind of breeds that because everybody's rowing in the same direction with everybody's got a piece of the larger picture with the equity pool that Painter1 does. Anything that you didn't expect that now makes that now makes sense?
Let's see. Makes sense now. I think it's being willing to, you're going to hear no a lot more frequently than I was ever used to hearing the word no.
Well, you're a principal. Everybody had to
Yeah,
listen
right?
to.
So that's kind of a thing, right?
But there's
And it's what's great about it is being able to have the conversation about why it's no. What's your why is a big kind of thing to me. Why do people do things? What makes them tick? What's your why? Who's your why? Those types of big questions that rattle around in my brain as a former leader, right? If I can figure out why Mike wants to be in the painting business so bad, I'm going to figure out how to help him a little bit better.
Yeah.
So when I know why a person wants to say no, it actually opens up a different conversation. And that's one of the things that's interesting to me. So I appreciate that.
I love that. And those lead to yeses, which is good. They pave the way to the
right.
yeses.
That's more learning that I'm doing. I mean, listen to me, I haven't learned this much in years. I was on cruise control for a long time. There's always a new little thing that happens in education, and we kind of gravitate that way or we come back the other way. But by and large, it's been the same for the last 20, 25 years.
Yeah.
This is just whole new learning for me. All the different systems, how all the pieces fit together. It's weird because it's kind of remote everywhere. So you're with people, but you're really not.
Yeah. Well,
But that love of learning has really come back to me in the last few weeks, I guess. Yeah, that's
and you get to see what's possible because you have the mentorship of someone who doesn't do it just well. He does it with excellence. And I'll share the two things that jumped out at me and tell me if these two gravitated to you as well. The marketing piece, invaluable, because that's what separates, that's how you get the attention for the business, right? And then the other piece that Keith was so good at, he understood the marketing piece, but he understood the numbers behind the marketing piece, where the leads were coming from. He studied that, where to put the attention. And then he also understood his numbers with cost of goods and labor and all that as well. I think watching you guys, I think that's where I watch you all really focus in on with him.
the business part of the numbers is something that was totally foreign to me. I've run big budgets. I've run $1 million budgets, couple $1 million, but nothing like this.
Yeah.
Right. Where you're looking specifically at the return on investment. How close can you get to that sweet spot? Right. These are all things that I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense, but okay, Keith, how do you do that? And so when you say, yeah, the marketing thing, but knowing what's going on behind the numbers, there's a lot of power that Keith has in those numbers. He can rip through the data. He looks at the data. He knows it. You can tell he spends a lot of time studying the data. That speaks to me as well. One of our leaders had a saying that stuck with me over 25 years ago: in God we trust, but everybody else better bring data. And I'm like, I love it. And the way that Keith jumps in there and is like, this is the data. This is where it was rotten. This is where it was really good. And here we are in July 4th, and school's going to start here in August. And right now you're going to experience a little dip in all of it. And guess what? We're all dipping right now. And it's what he told us right after school starts again. Like, that's when everyone's
momentum
into this. So, I'm trying to do all the stuff behind the scenes. So when that date hits, we're ready to go out and do some more estimate.
Well, Mike, I think you guys, both you and Dallas and his wife, Andrea, are going to do fantastic with this. Congratulations on the new business. Any word of guidance for someone considering a franchise at Painter1? Just short and sweet.
Best day to plant a tree was 25 years ago. The best days today.
There you go. Mike, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I wish you tremendous success.
Have a great day, y'all. Thanks for having me.
And that is a wrap with Keith, Mike, and Dallas. And you can tell they're drinking from a fire hose. And now they're in the field taking action on everything they learned just 3 or 4 weeks ago. And they're wrapped with a community. So when they do make a mistake, they can learn from it quickly, correct it, and keep moving forward. That's the key, is taking the action right away. We're pulling Tom forward with the mentorship program. Nothing else like it in this space. All right. That's the biggest differentiator we have. That's the mental piece is huge. And you heard it from them. The second major factor is our software was built for Painter1. It was built by Conrad, the co-founder of Painter1. It was built with these things, these features. One, it serves as a CRM. Two, for all the leads that come in. It serves as a way to track all their numbers and their data for whether it's the marketing numbers or it's the cost of goods. Three, it's an estimating tool. All their estimates come out of this system and or created, present a very professional manner to the customer. And four, it serves as a drip campaign. When the lead comes in, immediately they're touched. The potential customer is touched, and it all serves as a nurturing campaign. So the software is very, very powerful, very unique, just a Painter1. Okay. The next thing is the territory size. We're empowering the franchisee. We're giving them a very large territory. It's 2 to 3 times the size of any of our competitors. It gives them the ability to see and look forward that, hey, we can really build something big. We can build something very significant with Painter1. And it's about up to the population size, or the household, I should say, is 200,000 households inside of a territory with Painter1. The marketing, we've touched on that here and there throughout this entire podcast because it's so valuable. In fact, it's so important when a candidate is going through if that's you and you're going through the process of learning about Painter1, you're going to get a demo on the marketing because it's critical to what we do, and you're going to meet the team, and you're going to also meet the team behind the software, and you get a demo on the software because those two pieces tie everything together. The last big differentiator is the equity stake. So everybody is pulling in every franchisee that comes into this system gets a piece of the larger whole franchise or system nationwide. So that gives everybody wants to work together, which is really key. And that keeps relationships really strong doing that. And the last thing I call lagniappe, it's a little something extra. I'm from New Orleans, and that means a little extra. And what that is all the paint that's bought, we have a relationship with Sherwin-Williams. The franchisee gets the rebate. So it helps with their numbers as well. So those are all the positive things. That's all the things on how we empower the franchisee. Now, if you like what you heard and you think this is you'd like to learn more, get in touch with me at closethedeal.com and just hit the contact us button and I'll be in touch with you right away. Now, be intentional and make today a great day.